everybody. Karen Mahoney here, Creative Memories Advisor in the New England area, and I am going to do a project recipe out of the 52 Scrapbooking Project Recipes book. This book is now retired. I do have some to sell to my customers, so if you want one, send me a message. And I love it. I go in through this every once in a while and I pick one to do. It's a lot of fun. So I've done number 1 and number 2 with my customers, and I figured I'd put one on the YouTube channel here. So I'm going to do number 3. So let's see, number 2, here's number 3. Now, what these are is project recipes kind of revamped with different collections. When these project recipe first comes out, it's usually released with a brand new collection by Creative Memories. And they are only released to advisors. So they're advisor only, and we can share them with our customers. We can do them as classes, as projects, however we wish. So they compiled a bunch of these project recipes, did them with different collections, and put them in this book. And I believe it was about last summer that they did this, summer of 2024. Which I love. I love these kind of books. The like spiral notebook here. It's easy to have on your desk. It doesn't take up a lot of room. And it's great. So here you can see in the book, this project recipe was done. It says pictured with Tropic Time Collection, which is a retired tropical collection. Us advisors can get ourselves a key. We can look up project recipe 3. And it says the original collection used was Mermaid Cove. So for those of you that don't have the book and maybe have access to the project recipes or have an advisor that have shared project recipes with you, it was originally done with Mermaid Cove, and the new collection used is Tropic Time. Now, I am actually doing my layout with Summer Break, which is last year's summer collection. I only have a few sheets left of it, so I'm winging it and using those sheets left with a little bit of cardstock. So you can do this along with me. If you get stuck, just put me on pause, catch up will be good, or you can just sit and watch, which would be totally fine. So let me show you what I have. So what we need on this is we need 2 base pieces. They've used a piece of cardstock. Let me fold this over. They've used a piece of cardstock and a piece of designer paper for the base. So I'm using, let me get this here. I'm using a piece of cardstock, this baby blue cardstock, and I'm using this designer sheet. So I can put this aside because these are just my base pieces. This is very unlike me because I am very much use the same piece of cardstock or designer paper on both sides for the base, but I'm just going to do it as is, kind of, maybe with a little tweak here and there. And this is what I'm doing. So I'm putting this aside. And then what I need, if you look at the cutting guide, we are cutting only 3 pieces. We're cutting 2 pieces of designer paper, and we're cutting a piece of cardstock. And it looks like the cardstock is really just going to be used as mats for matting our photos. So not a lot of it is going to show. So I've decided to use this tangerine colored cardstock for those mats. I'm going to put it aside for right now because I'm going to cut my cutting guide in order. And these are my 2 designer pieces that I've chosen. I have some suns, and then I have this sheet of lime. It looks like some of these are going to be reversed, the pieces. So just kind of make sure you like both sides. I'm not going to be using this side, and I'll show you why later. I'm just using the limes, but I will be using both sides of this one. So this one I'm going to make, I believe, let me just double check what I've got here. Yeah, I think this is going to be my designer paper number 1, and this is going to be my designer paper number 2. There's different reasons why I choose what I do. When in choosing your papers, you want to make sure you're picking some subtle and bold sheets, designs. I mean, granted, this is really subjective depending on your taste. I know people that like lots of bold, people that like lots of subtle. So I'm doing kind of both. This side of this sheet is very subtle, and then you've got these crazy wild suns. I'm not really sure exactly what direction, what I'm going to put where yet, but I'm just going to call this one designer paper number 2. And this is designer paper number 1. So I'm going to start with this sheet. What you're also going to need is a border punch. Well, what it asks for is they want you to use a border punch that stays on the paper when you punch. So you're not punching a border that comes off of the paper. Can you do that and make it work? Absolutely, because I have an example that I made, and I'll show you guys after this one is done. But I'm going to just use the one that stays on the paper. So I chose this Wheatfield border punch, partially because when I'm making this video, this is still available on the Creative Memories website. When you watch it, I don't know if it still will be, but it is as of May in 2025. So I'm going to use this Wheatfield because it stays on. You can see on the bottom of the punch that it is not cut at the bottom, so it will stay on my paper. You could probably also use a border maker cartridge as well, but make sure you use the topper style that stays on your paper. All right, so we're going to, if you have this, like I said, it's project recipe number 3, or it's the Mermaid Cove project recipe. So this one, designer paper 1, it's very simple cuts. So we're going to cut 2 1-inch strips first. And you want to make sure also if your paper is directional, that you want to cut it the right way. So if your paper was directional, this cutting guide here, your paper is on its side. So you want to make sure that when you make your cuts, this is up, this is down, this is up, this is down. So, and I'll show you. My paper is not directional that I'm using, so I'm not worried about it. And I'm not using the back side, so I don't have to make sure that's all set. So I'm going to cut 2 1-inch by 12-inch strips, which, you know what, I may or may not even use these, but I'm cutting them anyways. And as we go along, I will show you what I'm doing. And then I'm turning this, and I'm just cutting at 6 inches, which is the center. Okay, so that was easy enough. It's just 4 pieces. So then what I'm going to do is I'm taking these 2 pieces, which are 6 by 10, and I'm cutting the top, these 6, the end that is 6 inches wide. And I'm going to put it in my border punch. If you've never used one before, these are great. This is a standalone punch. You don't need anything else to use it except for the punch. You have a black line here and there. It's really just a guide to show you where to put the paper when you start. So I'm going to line my paper up with that black line, making sure that the top of my paper is even with the tray. So I'm just going to make my first punch. And I always say, take your time. Don't ever rush through punching your stuff so you don't make any mistakes. And then I'm sliding it over, covering the image I'm covering all the blue on the tray. And sliding it over. I think I've got one more punch in here. And there you go. I've got my little wheat fields here. So this reminds me of summer, these plants. It doesn't even have to, they call it wheat field. It's supposed to be a wheat field, but it could pass as lots of other things. So depending on where you live, what area, it could be whatever you like. You can add some flowers to it. You could do whatever you want. So I'm going to do the same thing to the second one. It's only going to take 3 punches to get all the way over. Now there are lots of different punches you could use. So you choose what you like, what goes with your paper. And those are both done. So I'm going to take these and these, and I'm going to put these aside. And I'm going to cut designer paper number 2. Now this is also a paper that is not directional on either side, so it doesn't really matter where I start. And I'm actually not done with this, so I'm just going to put this aside. So I'm going to start off by cutting. I'm going to do it this way, it's not to distract. I'm going to cut this at 7.5 inches all the way down. And then this piece is going to be cut in half at 6 inches. And that should leave, that means this should be 4.5 inches wide. Always double check, because, you know, sometimes there's some variance in the papers, and that looks good. And I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut it at 6.5. And then I have this piece right here, which is 4.5 by 5.5. So this is 4.5, this is 5.5. So what it wants me to do is take my punch again, and it wants me to turn this sideways, and I'm going to cut both sides. And I think it wants me to punch first because it doesn't want my paper to be too short to put in here and get my cuts. So it's really doing me a solid here. All right. So that I've done that side, I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to do the other side. There we go. Looks cute. Now you're wondering, why am I doing that? Because now what it wants me to do is cut it in half in the center. So how long? Let's measure this right now. So this is basically about, let's see, let's put the longest piece line up to my line, and it comes right to about 4, let's see, about 4 1/4. So I'm going to cut it at about 2 1/8, which isn't a big deal if it's terribly, terribly off. So, because I can always fix it. So 2 1/8 is about, if I go by where the longest piece is, I'll make that even. That's about 2 1/8. And it may be different on yours depending on what punch you use, how wide it ends up being and where to cut it. So I have 2 pieces that are all done. So we'll see what side I end up using. So I'm going to put those aside. And now all I have left is to cut my cardstock on my tangerine cardstock. So there's a lot of extra on this, so I'm definitely not using the whole piece. So I'm cutting at 6.5. And then 4.5. And then 4.5 again. This is extra. And then I'm cutting this at 4 inches. And this long strip is extra. And I'm basically cutting, it's asking for 2 4x4 mats, but you know what? It's actually making 3, so I'm going to hold on to them just in case I need that third mat for photos. I mean, why waste it? I tend to put a lot of photos on, so I don't have any photos for this layout quite yet, but that'll be fine. And there you go. That's all I have for that. So these are all my pieces here, which I'm going to put aside. Now you probably saw that I have all these laser borders. I can't remember the name of the collection these came from, but it was from a secret box last year that had very, very bright neon summer colors. And I had all these laser borders from that, and I really liked it. And it kind of matched my colors. So I may see if I use these in lieu of the 1-inch strips at the top. So we'll see. We shall see. So we're done with our punch. And we'll get our bottom pieces. Now I always like to lay out before I stick anything down. So the cutting guide shows you all your letters, and then when you go on the other side for the project recipe, it shows you exactly where to put them. So anything that is a blue color comes from one particular sheet, the green comes from a different sheet, and so on. So you know what sheet it came from. So ABCD actually came from designer paper number 1. So why don't I pull those out? I'll center this. Now that was my lime green. Okay, so we've got one goes here, one goes here, and then we could put these up here if we choose, or we could flip it over and do that. But this is where I was thinking of doing the suns instead, but we'll kind of decide. So I'm going to just put those up top here first. I'm just going to lay them with that, and we can decide later what we want to do. So these go here. And then I have designer paper number 2, which went like this or like this. So why don't I do this first? Like that. And this actually could go like that. That's the mat. Okay. And then I have these 2 pieces, which are to go below here. But I'm going to put my mats on first because that kind of directs where it goes. So we'll put this here is kind of in the middle. And that's in the middle. And we have this mat. And we have this mat. Oh, so this goes pretty low, actually. Again, I will, once I stick it down, everything will stay where I want it. And I do have this additional mat, which if I choose later, I can use. But right now, I'm not going to worry about it. And then this kind of tucks under there and goes like that. And this tucks under here and goes like that. And I kind of like it. And now I'll tell you why I grabbed these laser borders also, because I had the suns here. So I don't know, this may make it too heavy. I'm not sure I'm going to put the clouds on there. I'm not even sure if I'm going to put the lime green. I was thinking of just going like that. I can always add these differently. This is where I sometimes go rogue and do my own thing. I really like the look of that in lieu of these strips. Now, I'm thinking we could do something else with these strips if we really wanted to. I could put them on the side and do that. And here's the other one I would put over here. Let's see. You know, I kind of like that. I think it kind of ties it together. So I think I may end up doing that. So yeah, let's stick some things down. I am definitely going to need my regular adhesive, and I'm going to need my repositionable adhesive. So I've got my silicone mat for my repositionable. I don't think I'm going to put the clouds in there because it just kind of adds this darker blue, and it's kind of heavy, and I think it's almost too much. So I'm not going to add that. So I'll save that for another day. So I'm going to start with this piece. I like this so far. I like it even better once everything's kind of stuck down and not everywhere. And with the top of this, with all the wheat fields, I'm going to take my repositionable and easily just put some tape on there so it stays down and doesn't get ripped. Be careful with them there. And then, let's see. So this one will go, this one's going to go right. Actually, I'm going to have to put these little, my strips with the limes on the side will have to go first, because that's going to go under. It's going to tuck itself under. So it's not going to be a lead roll. It will be a secondary roll, I think, or, you know, runner up. There we go. I am somebody that's not afraid to put some patterns together. I know not everybody is as comfortable with that, but it doesn't bother me in the least. So I do have some, maybe from your vantage point, it might look like stripes, but it actually says good times going all the way across there. So I can use that for lining up this piece of paper. So I'm going to, let's see, do that. It should be straight. And then this mat is the center of this. So if you kind of want to center it well, this is where your 13-inch mat, or if you have a mat, comes in very handy. It's kind of going in the center, so that goes from 4 inches. Let's see, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's like 7.5 inches, 3 3/4. So 1, 2, 3. So that's about the middle. I mean, it does not have to be exact. I'm not going to be graded on it. Well, you guys may grade me, but I'll be okay. I can handle it. Then this one goes here. Or we can flip it over and do it like that. I may wait till last to do that. And then this, probably shouldn't have tucked this down too hard. So I'm going to just lift. If you ever find that you need to lift it, your multi-purpose tool works great for that. So I'm going to put a little tape on the back, put a little repositionable tape on my wheat, and I'm going to tuck it under so it kind of centers itself right where I want it. I want it tucked under a little bit more. You know, you You'll know what you like. Okay. All right, I'm going to leave this for right now and move this. And some repositionable on the top. And that fits right in your bottom right hand side. Nice and easy to put it there. Gently push down your wheat so you don't rip it. Okay, and then I'm going to put my strip. On my left side. Just going to make sure you guys can still see what I'm doing. It looks like you can. Put my mats aside. So then I have this one. Loving this new jumbo tape runner. Let's see what we have here. Let me get this out of my way so I can see. Now, see, I don't have something to go by on this side, and that's something you could take a really long ruler. I do have a ruler here, so I know where I wanted to start. It's a 1/2 inch up is what I did. And let's see. So it's going to go about, so let me move this. I'm going to center this, make my life easier. I don't worry about a lot of things, but it does drive me crazy when I'm not even. It's just an issue I have, I think. So let's see. This is my 1/2 inch. I don't expect perfection for myself, but I can at least try. And this keeps moving, which is driving me crazy. Okay. And then I have my last piece of wheat. My repositionable tape here. This is what it's, I don't use it for everything, but there's those certain things that I just need it. Actually, you know what? I need to put my mat down first, so I'll just leave that and I'll tape up my mat. And let's see how far up we are on this one. Actually, I could tell by lining it up on my mat. So it's 2 inches up. Okay, so there's the 2 inches. Just kind of make that look even to the eye. And there I did. I pushed it down again when I need to put something under it. My multi-purpose tool is the greatest thing ever. And I'm going to put that under. Now, this isn't a huge difference, so it's kind of subtle looking at the wheat on here more so than it is up here, and I'm fine with that. If you want it less subtle, you probably could have flipped it over and used the other side or used a different paper. That would have been fine. Then I have 2 mats left. Actually, I have to do that one too, so. All right, so this is gonna go right down about here. I'll put it like it's about a 1/4 inch from the bottom, about a 1/2 inch from the right. And then I'll put about a 1/4 inch between the 2 of them. And that seems to fit it just fine. Of course, I got to stand up. I can't tell if anything's even unless I stand up. Any of you standers, when you scrapbook, let's see. And then I've got this one, and I did have that other mat. I'm not sure what I did with it. Oh, there it is. It's underneath the book. I may just put this right here. I think that's going to go right there for an extra photo. Your choice, your layout, your choice is what I always say. There's no right or wrong way to scrapbook. It's just how you want to do it. I'm only here to give ideas. Okay, and now I'm going to put this. I'm going to use regular adhesive because the laser borders are a little bit heavy. All right, oh, and I'll put that on after. So let's see. I'm going to put it right here. And I'm going to put it pretty close to the top. I'm going to put it at, the little point here is at like 1 inch. And I'm sorry, it's like 3/4 of an inch. So I'll do about the same for this one. That it would be the middle there because it's not a point. So I'll do the same for this. And I'll do this 3/4 of an inch here, and it'll be about there. And it does a little overlap of my mat, which I kind of like. It just ties things together. And that's pretty much it. Now, I'll show you what it looked like with photos. I have just some mats I've made out of cardstock. Actually, I'm going to stick this down. And I'm going to put this kind of about the same as that one. Got a little room to maybe put some embellishments down here. Of course, it'll depend on what my photos are about. There we go. So, and I've got, okay, that's a 4x6 photo that will hold. Same as here. These are 4x4s. So these are 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 photos. And this is a 4x6 right here. And I think I really like this. I like the look. I like the colors. I'm really happy I substituted the border there. This is what the sample looked like. Let me bring it closer to you. Sorry about the dogs barking. And let me show you what I did earlier with a different layout. This, I did put the 1-inch strip on here. I did use a punch that broke off of the paper. So that is different. I also didn't use, here, let me show them side by side. I didn't use this piece, so I put this punch here instead. I did use the 1 inch strip. And that's kind of it. It looks completely different. And you can see I did the punch here as well. So that wasn't attached on. So, I mean, I took this same exact sketch, changed it up a bit, made it look a little bit different. So, and that is that. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will probably at some point add some embellishments when I know what I'm putting on here. Right now I don't, so I don't want to do that. But yeah, have a lot of fun and enjoy. Thank you.